Stoveminders, vacate your posts. Bauer Watch is over. Yes, the biggest prize of the 2020-21 Major League Baseball offseason has made a decision on where he will pitch next year and beyond. I'm talking about Trevor Bauer, okay? Reigning NL Cy Young Award winner and social media superstar. Yeah, love him or hate him, he's one of the game's most recognizable names and an excellent pitcher, so there was a lot of buzz around the baseball world as to where Bauer would go. Over the winter, he had discussions with the Toronto Blue Jays, who ended up spending their money elsewhere, and the San Diego Padres, who chose to build up their starting rotation via trade instead of the free agent market. In the end, there were two: the Los Angeles Dodgers, defending World Series champions, and the New York Mets under new owner billionaire Steve A. Cohen, who were hyped up quite a lot going into the winter as to what they may do with their new owner. New York and Los Angeles, right? The two biggest cities and markets in America. East Coast versus West Coast. Where would he go? Bauer and the Mets were closely connected from the beginning. I mentioned their new ownership and the aggression they've shown this winter, punctuated by the acquisition of Bauer's former teammate of the Cleveland Indians, shortstop Francisco Lindor. Great ball player in his own right. And on Friday morning, this morning, the New York Post reported that the Mets had an offer for Bauer at 3 years, somewhere between $100 and $110 million. One report I saw said $108 million, with opt-outs after every offseason and a deadline. Mets gave him a deadline. High noon Eastern time. Classic New York negotiating tactics. Well, 12 o'clock passed without a deal, and later reports said it was not an ultimatum, do-or-die deadline. Then, 3 hours later, at high noon Pacific time, it's my time. It's Bauer's time, right? Born and raised in L.A. County, from birth in North Hollywood to Santa Clarita High School, all the way through UCLA, and now to the Los Angeles Dodgers. The defending World Series champions have won the Bauer sweepstakes. This contract is for 3 years at $102 million, in the range of but less than the reported offer from the Mets. Bauer will earn $40 million in 2021, a record for 1 year's salary, and he's going to break that record again the very next year, 2022, barring a strike, with $45 million slated to come his way. That's quarterback money for Bauer. That's like NBA superstar money. And then his final year, 2023, it's just $17 million, which is about how much he made last year with the Reds. And if he's ever dissatisfied, opt-outs every offseason. Interesting feature of that deal. I could definitely see him opting out after 2022 if he feels worth more than $17 million. I mean, if the strike looks really serious, he could also opt out after next year, though that would be rather extreme. But why did Bauer choose the Dodgers? Well, the hometown factor was huge, I'm sure. And LA is the entertainment capital of America. Bauer is an entertainer/internet personality off the field, right? Playing baseball doesn't last forever, so Bowie has been building up his social media presence. He has his own media company, Momentum. He's a very prolific vlogger. It was a perfect fit. Not to mention how good the team, the Dodgers, is. How committed they are to winning, how well known they are to casual sports fans who barely know baseball. And I don't just mean the LA logo and the blue cap. I'm talking Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Clayton Kershaw. Okay, these guys got star power. So look for Trevor to accelerate his crusade to be the face of baseball with folks like that around him and in a market outside of Ohio like he's been playing for most of his career. There's also the Dodgers' in-house pitching technology, something that Bauer cares about a lot. Will be interesting to see if they let him pitch on short rest like he wants to. That's Trevor Bauer, the person, Bauer, the free agent. Who is he as a pitcher? He's a 30-year-old right-hander Yep, 9 seasons of big league experience, coming off a Cy Young winning season in 2020 with the Reds. Led the league in ERA at 173, ERA plus at 276, and that's when league average adjusted to ballpark is 100. So, I mean, pitchers do tend to get that high, but still exceptional. And led the league in whip just below 0.8. His command was excellent, walked just 17 batters in 73 innings while striking out 100. Lowest hit rate in the majors. Opposing batters hit just 159 against Bauer in 2020, but that's just 1 year. Big picture, he's been a little up and down in his career. Excellent in 2018, really good in 2019 up to the point where the Royals came out of nowhere and ran up to check on him, and then in a fit of rage, Bauer threw the ball from the mound over the center field fence at Kauffman Stadium, which was an impressive feat in its own, and just days later he got traded to the Reds, with whom down the stretch in 2019 it didn't go so well. So if you look at his whole career picture, just some above average campaigns, like just above average. Some say he's benefited from pitching against lowly teams in the AL and NL Comedy Centrals, but listen, the NL West isn't exactly a gauntlet beyond the Padres, like the Rockies, Diamondbacks, and Giants are not fearsome competition. I would say the NL East is tougher to pitch in, on paper at least, and maybe Trevor was conscious of his value and legacy if he were to face tough competition on a regular basis with the Mets, though I think it was all the other stuff that was a little more important. So there's this volatility on and off the field that have some critics saying that this is egregious. I mean, who on earth is worth $40+ million, especially a starting pitcher who is only going to appear once every 5 games? Like, there's my hot take for you. All right, now for the nerds. Bauer has a deep arsenal, lots of variation on his core pitches. A 4-seam fastball averaging 93 to 94 plus miles per hour. That's his main pitch. Throws the fastball about 34 to 40% of the time. In the past, it has not been his best, but in 2020, Bauer was able to get a lot of spin on it. I mean, a lot. 100th percentile according to StatCast on it, and saw great results. Prior to last year, he got more done with his high-quality secondary stuff, mid-80s cutter, and a slider and a curveball. Those two got a lot of strikeouts for him, plus a 94-mile-an-hour sinker and a changeup in there just for fun. Bauer's always switching it up, studying his pitches in the lab. He's a student of the game, okay? He experiments with both tracking technology and substances, which, to his credit, Bauer's been upfront and even critical of the widespread use of custom sticky substances by pitchers to get a better grip on the ball. Very common, but also illegal in the game. The Dodgers rotation now features Bauer, Clayton Kershaw, and Walker Buehler, as intimidating of a trio as any in baseball. Not to mention a stable of good young arms in Dustin May, Julio Urias, and Tony Gonsolin. Oh, and David Price. Just ridiculous. Just a stupid rotation down in LA. And the Dodgers are the defending champions, but to repeat a World Series title is very, very hard. Hasn't been done for over 2 decades. Last time was the Yankees, 1999-2000. Would be cool if they could do it, given the back-to-back World Series losses they endured in 2017 and 18. But the Dodgers have not retained contributors Jock Peterson, now on the Cubs, nor Kike Hernandez, now of the Red Sox. But it is a deep team. They always have been. An incredible farm system just keeps finding developing talent. So the fact that Jock and Kike were like rotational part-time players with LA who are now going to decent, just above average teams and becoming starters says a lot about the Dodgers. But the rise of the San Diego Padres is something that they will have to deal with too, right in the division. Padres GM AJ Preller won the offseason with his trades for ace-level starters Blake Snell and Yu Darvish. The Bauer-Darvish duels of last year's NL Central between the Reds and the Cubs will now take place out west, which I am very excited for. I'm really happy, actually, that they stay in the same division. Those matchups are masterclasses in the art of pitching, and unlike last year, the lineups that they will be facing are of a very high quality, too. I also, in my last video, touched on how Bauer and Darvish have this competition between themselves. Like, it's not like a hateful rivalry. I think they respect each other, but they're both very high-level pitchers. Both of them are very studious and as to how they're pitching, how they can improve it. Both of them are known to use the technology to change their pitches, and they've been amazing as a result of it. They finished 1 and 2 in NL Cy Young voting this past season. Not to mention their little social media rivalry where Darvish blows Bauer out of the water in his coveted subscriber count because Darvish has just cornered the Japanese market. It's beautiful. But what's not beautiful, what's actually very ugly, is the Dodgers payroll, which for luxury tax purposes now stands at $239.5 million, almost $30 million above the threshold, meaning they will have to pay the league $7 million barring any other roster changes. And remember that LA is trying hard to bring back longtime third baseman Justin Turner. If Turner doesn't return, that's kind of a hole over there at third they have to deal with. I mean, up the middle at second where Kike was playing quite a bit. Gavin Lux was a top prospect very recently. And in the outfield, you got Cody Bellinger in center, Mookie Betts in right, and I think Jock was putting in work in left, where they have AJ Pollock. Overpaid, yes, but bad? Nah, I think they'll be all right with him as their starting outfielder and as their number 7 hitter. And the Dodgers are one of the league's richest franchises, so they should have no big trouble paying that off, as the Yankees did when they eclipsed the luxury tax threshold several years ago. As for the Mets, they had the money, but the Dodgers held the advantage in familiarity, market share, exposure, all that. Still, the Mets rotation looks great. I mean, Jacob deGrom, Marcus Stroman, Noah Syndergaard, now Carlos Carrasco. Tough luck, but they got Lindor, right? Mets are still going to be very competitive even without Bauer in the fold. Bit more of a blow to the Blue Jays, who I guess weren't one of the finalists, but their rotation is looking like a level below both the Mets and the Dodgers. Oh, well, that's the story of Bauer to the Dodgers. Let's see how this pans out. Let's see what sort of antics Bauer will cook up. Will he collaborate with local LA YouTube vloggers for some BS? Are they going to do TikToks before the game? I don't know. Is he going to continue pitching like he was last year, which was, again, one of the best pitchers in baseball, without question? Or is he going to go back to Trevor Bauer of 3-4 years ago, where he's all right, but a number 3 starter in that rotation, making $40 million a year? Will the Dodgers try to make some trades to free up some of that salary? Wouldn't that be interesting? David Price, AJ Pollock, they're definitely expendable. Will Bauer in Los Angeles be good for baseball? And for that, I mean Major League Baseball. I think yes, absolutely. I mean, this was kind of a best case scenario where, Bauer in New York would be beneficial in that regard as well. To have him in LA, he's an LA guy on such a stacked team. Oh my goodness, they're going to market the hell out of this. And every single Dodgers-Padres matchup this season, which is, again, it's good for growing the game amongst casual fans, which is necessary because there's been so many discussions about state of the game, the popularity of it, the falling popularity of it. Trevor Bauer at least has his finger on the pulse. He's at least trying to do the social media thing. He's trying to have an internet presence, combined with the fact he is a really good player. And while you may find him obnoxious and with all his antics, it's necessary. I really do think it's necessary for Major League Baseball if they want to stay relevant. And some people are like, now MLB's going to be a bunch of super teams. Perhaps, but not really. At least not to the extent the NBA is. Because, okay, you want to call the Dodgers a super team? What about the Padres? Okay, yeah, them too. Chicago White Sox look like kind of a super team. New York Yankees, sorta. Houston Astros, I guess not so much anymore. The Astros. Atlanta Braves are really good. Washington Nationals have a lot of star power. I don't know what you can ask for. And just having a bunch of really, really good names, a bunch of really good players, and a very high payroll does not guarantee a World Series title. The Tampa Bay Rays came pretty close this past fall, and I challenge the casual baseball fan to name one Tampa Bay Ray from that roster. But I'm going completely off topic. This is what we were waiting for. And what a finish it had been. Trevor Bauer in Los Angeles. Oh, God, this could be nasty.